Welcome to SVG-TV News for Thursday, January 15, 2026. I am Rochelle Baptiste with the details. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, Sinclair Leacock, has indicated that one of the key strategies being pursued to address crime in St. Vincent and Grenadines involves strengthening public education and awareness through an expanded media campaign. Speaking on the issue on radio today, Minister Leacock explained that alongside law enforcement and legislative measures, a softer approach is also necessary to influence behavior and reduce criminal activity. As part of this strategy, he said he has already held discussions with state-owned media houses to outline expectations and explore ways in which crime prevention messaging can be more effectively communicated to the public. The minister also urged social media influencers, content creators, community leaders, and other public personalities to use their platforms responsibly by coming on board and playing their part in promoting positive values, conflict resolution, and respect for the law. According to Leacock, shaping public attitudes, particularly among young people, is critical in addressing the root causes of crime.
One of the first things I've done since I've come to office as Minister of National Security, quite apart from the visitation that they've asked me about that I'm doing, is to invite in NBC Radio. I had them in, I had API in, and I had VC3 in. Why did I have them in? I said, I want us to approach this problem of crime and violence and the increasing numbers of homicides and murders to apply soft power. Not every problem can be solved with more guns, more boots, more uniforms, more policemen, more big sticks. Let us begin to get the influencers in society to assist us to do some of that so-called heavy lifting.
Minister Leacock further highlighted the vital role of the family in shaping individuals, noting that a decline in values, discipline, and community responsibility has contributed significantly to the country's crime situation. He stressed that crime prevention must begin in the home, supported by schools, churches, and community organizations working together.
I see in St. Vincent that one of the things that has happened to us as a people, why we're having this situation, is that crime and violence is a reflection of a breakdown of the family as a basic unit of society. And so we go back to fundamentals and to basics, because the family is where you begin to get your socialization, your value systems, your ethical approaches, and the ability to pacify. And they move out from the family and they get deeper socialization by your church as an institution. You get it when you go to school as a socialization. You get it at the workplace where you learn to live with others and you understand differences. You get it in your sports clubs and in organizations. And so if we're seeing that it is increasing, it means that there are failures, organizational failures across the board, either at the family unit, at the church, at the school, at the workplace, where we are not being our brother's keeper, we're not living with each other.
Meanwhile, the National Security Minister noted growing public concern about personnel safety, pointing out that his ministry has observed an increase in applications from citizens seeking licenses to become firearm holders. He said this trend reflects the level of fear and insecurity being felt by some members of the population. However, Minister Leacock emphasized that a firearm license will continue to be strictly regulated, making it clear that not everyone will be approved to own a gun.
Even within 48, 49 days, I think, to the now in office, is the number of requests that come to me daily for people who have their own firearms. And that tells me that there's a high degree of insecurity, that a number of our people feel that they have to assist the police in protecting themselves. Now, obviously, you can't have that amount of ammunition out there in the hands of everybody who feels insecure about his or hers. People who have ammunition, people who have guns, are always looking for an opportunity to use that weapon. And many times when they are in situations, rather than trying to de-escalate, cool it, they feel, well, this is the chance to demonstrate that I have some superiority or I have some power over you that you don't have. So I think while I can appreciate there are a number of legitimate cases in which people have to be armed, especially against the dangerous and the criminal elements, too much of it can also be a bad thing. So yes, I have a business, I'm living by myself, I'm being violated, I have real threatening situation.
The Deputy Prime Minister reiterated that tackling crime requires a balanced approach, combining enforcement, prevention, public education, and community involvement to create safe communities throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And Minister of Agriculture Israel Bruce says addressing the concerns and challenges faced by workers within the sector is one of the key areas identified for urgent attention. Speaking with SVG-TV News during the handing over ceremony of agricultural items donated by Taiwan, Minister Bruce said that since assuming responsibility for the ministry, he has recognized the need for serious interventions, particularly as it relates to temporary and seasonal workers. He noted that several long-standing issues required careful review and structured solutions. Minister Bruce explained that he is currently continuing his analysis of the situation and intends to raise these matters at the appropriate level once his assessment is complete.
It has not been the easiest of tasks. What I've been doing over the last month or so is that I have been visiting the agricultural installations across the country, meeting with statutory bodies that are incorporated under the ministry to get a sense of where things are. In a sense, doing a stock taking of the ministry before I come out to speak to the media fully on what I have taken control of, what is my situational analysis of where things are, what we have to do to take us where we want to get to.
Okay, what has been the analysis so far? What are your findings?
I will come to the media fully on this, but suffice it to say that you think about having 500 plus daily paid workers in that ministry with just over 200 permanent workers. You see what I'm talking about? Imagine where you have persons walking up to you who have been working for over 25 years as daily paid workers. Some of those challenges.
The government minister also emphasized that the working environment within the agriculture sector must be significantly improved. He pointed out that conditions at several locations are less than satisfactory, especially at facilities that are considered unsanitary, and said efforts will be made to enhance health, safety, and overall working standards.
Some of those challenges, and at the outstations we've had some challenges, some difficulties, and some concerns reported to me by the workers. I give them my commitment that I resolve those issues, including sometimes areas that are sanitary enough for the female workers to use. In some cases where materials are not getting to staff at the outstations as quick as they'd like to, and other stuff. Visited the depots at, well, I can't call them depots yet, but buildings that are to be converted into depots at Lacqua, Lourdes, Lanley Park. I have not gone to Belmont in North Leeward as yet, but it's part of the overall oversight to put marketing on steroids so that the farmers can have the necessary marketing in place as we guaranteed them during the last elections campaign.
Additionally, Minister Bruce expressed gratitude to residents of South Central Windward for their continued support. He assured them that their confidence in his leadership would not be misplaced. While asking for patience, Minister Bruce said he is making steady progress on a number of national programs and projects which he hopes to see implemented as part of the government's broader agenda to strengthen agriculture and improve livelihoods across the country.
We are in government, what, just over a month? Yeah. I believe we started to deliver so consistent with our promise that some people start to feel as if we're in office for 3 years plus. But we've started to deliver. I've already taken to Cabinet a set of regulations to deal with traceability of animals. I will next take to Cabinet regulations to deal with traceability of crops as part of the overall architecture of responding to perennial larceny, one of our concerns. We've promised VAT-free day, we've delivered on that. We've promised vaccine workers to go back to work, we are delivering on that, with some teething problems for certain, based on the reports that have been coming back to me. But essentially, we have, as we promised, we were going to hit the ground running. And that's what we have done. And that in and of itself has made some persons feel like, if, look, these guys have been in government for so long, they need to do this. But be patient with us. Our fingers are on the pulses, and we will do what we promised to do. Allow us, first of all, to clean some of the mess that we have met, and then we could clear path going forward.
Activists in St. Vincent and Grenadines will be participating in a rally tomorrow as they join calls from counterparts across the Caribbean advocating for the region to remain a zone of peace in light of recent geopolitical developments. The demonstration follows the dramatic events of January 3rd, 2026, when the United States launched a military operation in Venezuela and captured President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores, flying them to the United States, where they now face federal charges, including narcotics-related offenses. Both Maduro and Flores entered not guilty pleas in U.S. federal court and are being held pending further proceedings. Speaking to the media at a news conference yesterday, Marlon Joseph, president of the Solidarity Group in SVG, said that many people in St. Vincent and Grenadines do not fully understand the implications of the U.S. military action for their own country and the wider region. He added that the rally is intended not only to show solidarity but also to raise awareness about the potential impact of foreign military intervention on Caribbean security, sovereignty, and regional stability.
There are real consequences to be harvested from this potential expanded conflict if it plays out in the way that Donald Trump threatens that it can play out. So this is why we, Solidarity SVG, continue to advocate strongly for the Caribbean to remain a zone of peace, because we understand that it is not only Venezuela that is going to be affected, but the entire Caribbean is going to be affected. And as I said, I remember Maya Motley, she gave in an hosting a press conference in which she addressed this issue in terms of the potential consequences to the Caribbean and the wider region. So it is in this vein that we are calling on Vincentians to come out and give us your moral and physical support this coming Friday, the 16th of January, as we meet in Kingston in the car park adjacent to the post office, Kingston Post Office, to continue advocating strongly for the Caribbean to remain a zone of peace.
Joseph stressed the importance of peaceful advocacy, noting that the Solidarity Group has been active for 10 years, championing human rights, justice, and regional solidarity. He recalled that the organization held an impromptu rally on January 3rd in reaction to the events in Venezuela, a response he described as a spontaneous expression of concern and a reinforcement of their long-standing position on peace and non-interference. A number of prominent individuals are expected to attend tomorrow's rally, including lawyers and representatives from various civil society groups across SVG. Joseph said that everyone is welcome to participate in the rally, which will begin at 4 p.m. and reiterated the message that the Caribbean should remain free from external military conflict and committed to peaceful resolution of international disputes.
We received an outpouring of support from within Venezuela itself. So people from within Venezuela reached out to us and they said, you know, we saw what you guys are doing and thank you for standing up and speaking out on our behalf. We appreciate that. In St. Vincent, and I'm going to be honest here, I think a lot of persons were confused about what we were doing, and maybe because it was spontaneous and we didn't have time to build public awareness towards it. And we were met with opposition from a wide cross section of Vincentians. But later on, when you meet some people one-on-one and they say, I see you guys were doing this, why were you doing that? And you explain to them, then, oh, okay, then I understand the context. So, and this is why I said earlier that one of the purposes is about education. For people to know this is why we are doing it.
The U.S. intervention and capture of President Maduro have triggered widespread reactions across the Americas and globally, with some governments and activists condemning the operation as a violation of sovereignty and a threat to regional peace, while others have expressed cautious support for efforts to address corruption and narcotics trafficking. Caribbean community CARICOM leaders have met to discuss the situation and its implications for security in the region. We heard that St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Wednesday welcomes the inaugural call of the Valiant Lady, one of Virgin Voyages' flagship cruise vessels, marking a significant milestone in the continued growth and diversification of the nation's cruise tourism sector. The inaugural visit was commemorated with a traditional plaque exchange ceremony between Dr. Kishore Shallow, Minister of Tourism, Civil Aviation and Sustainable Development, and Captain Justin Lawes of the Valiant Lady. A news release from the Ministry of Tourism says the symbolic exchange underscores the strengthening partnership between SVG and Virgin Voyage and celebrates the destination's rising profile within the premium cruise market. Minister of Tourism, Civil Aviation and Sustainable Development, Dr. Kishore Shallow, welcomed the vessel's arrival, noting that the call represents confidence in SVG as a world-class sustainable cruise destination. He said the inaugural call reflects the island's growing appeal, readiness of its infrastructure and commitment to delivering authentic, high-quality experiences for today's global traveler. Dr. Shallow further noted that SVG welcomed the partnership and look forward to the economic opportunities, cultural exchange, and enhanced visibility it brings to the nation. The Valiant Lady brings with it a new generation of cruise visitors seeking immersive boutique-style experiences. Passengers will have the opportunity to explore the natural beauty, cultural heritage, and warm hospitality of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, contributing to local economic activity through tours, attractions, and small business engagement. The news release further outlined that the inaugural call reflects the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines' strategic efforts to attract cruise lines that shape our vision for responsible tourism development and long-term partnerships that benefit our people and protect our environment. According to the news release, the ministry, in collaboration with the SVG Tourism Authority, port officials, and private sector partners, continues to strengthen the country's position as a premier cruise destination in the Southern Caribbean. In more local news now, we hear that as St. Vincent and the Grenadines enters the dry season, Fire Chief Mark Ellis has issued a strong warning about the increased risk of bushfires, describing them as one of the country's most serious challenges during this time of the year. Speaking during an interview with SVG-TV News earlier today, Chief Ellis explained that dry weather conditions significantly increase the flammability of vegetation, making it easier for fires to ignite and spread rapidly. He noted that once fires take hold under these conditions, they can quickly become difficult to control, placing communities' infrastructure and the natural environment at risk. He also highlighted that many bushfires are caused by human activity, a trend he said is becoming an increasingly serious and preventable problem.
Apart from house fires, our biggest problem was bushfires, and most of the time, most bushfires it starts by somebody. Sometimes there are persons smoking cigarette, and they dispose of the cigarette stubs in bushes, and most of our bushfires here starts that way. So and then other times there are persons maybe they're cleaning a piece of land and they start to burn the bushes them in piles, and then sometimes the fires get out of hand and spread to another area. So those are our problems concerning bushfires at the moment. So we are appealing to persons, if you're smoking your cigarette, especially up at Mackey's Hill, just below Kingston Park, there to the back of the Nagogo. Most of the time that always have fire in that area where persons smoking and passing and throwing their cigarette snub in the bushes, and then fire start. And most of the time the fire truck, the fire appliance cannot get to that area. And that's becoming a big problem for us. So we are asking persons to avoid burning piles and bushes and so on. If you don't have to burn, you can dispose of it differently, especially now we are in the dry season. We will appreciate that.
The fire chief pointed out that bushfires often result from careless practices such as indiscriminate burning of rubbish, unattended fires, and proper disposal of hot materials. In addition to threatening homes and farmlands, he said these fires place a heavy strain on the resources of the fire service, diverting personnel and equipment from other emergencies. Ellis further shared several tips to help prevent unwanted fires caused by both adults and children. He advised residents to avoid burning rubbish during dry and windy conditions, ensure fires are completely extinguished if burning is unavoidable, and keep flammable materials away from homes and roadways. Parents were also encouraged to closely monitor children and educate them about the dangers of playing with matches and lighters.
Removing fire hazards around your home is very important. As I said earlier, avoid burning weeds and bushes in piles. If you have to burn them, you could, put them in small bungalows. Have a garden hose close by. Also, one of our biggest problems, especially these, I remember the last couple of fires, is children playing with matches. So, if the adults, if you can store your matches and lighters out of the reach of children, we will greatly appreciate that. Another problem we have seen also that causing fires, especially house fires, persons overloading their electrical outlets. You don't want to do that. Another cause of fire again, persons when they are cooking, sometimes they are all over the place. So if you're cooking, stay in the kitchen, when you're frying or boiling, you keep your stove clear of combustibles. One of the other big problem we have seen is sometimes persons are not storing flammable liquids in approved containers. So we are asking, if you have gasoline and diesel, whatever other flammable stuff you have in your home, to store them in approved containers away.
Ellis also reminded the public that setting fires without proper authorization is illegal and can result in serious consequences, including fines and imprisonment. According to him, enforcement efforts will continue throughout the dry season, but prevention remains the most effective approach. The fire chief emphasized that preventing bushfires is a shared responsibility and called on the public to remain vigilant and report any suspicious or uncontrolled fires immediately to the authorities. He stressed that early reporting can make the difference between a small, manageable fire and a major disaster. And leader of the opposition, Dr. Raul Gonzalez, has commended what he described as a well-oiled system behind the recent relocation of students of the Kittels Government School, praising the coordinated efforts that ensured minimal disruption to teaching and learning. Speaking on the matter during the radio program yesterday, Dr. Gonzalez highlighted the efficiency and collaboration displayed throughout the relocation process, noting that the transition reflected strong planning and effective execution by the relevant authorities. The temporary relocation became necessary following a fire that destroyed a section of the school which housed more than 90 students and 6 teachers. No one was injured in the blaze, which occurred recently. In response, education officials working alongside emergency and public works agencies moved swiftly to identify and prepare an alternative facility at the Camden Park Community Center, ensuring that affected students could continue their education in a safe and supportive environment.
The officials at the Ministry of Education, the Permanent Secretary, the Chief Education Officer, and those under them. The Ministry of Mobilization, which had to clear out the what was stored. I don't think Nemo had anything remaining. If Nemo had anything, I want to thank them too. And of course, Bragsa for repurposing the building, to have the classrooms in order to have a place, the kitchen large enough for the cooking, and the Ministry of Education for organizing the buses to transport the children. And of course, some would take the buses themselves, some have private transportation and so forth. But clearly, when you move, there'll be little hiccups. But the reports that I've gotten are of such a nature for me to say a big thank you.
Dr. Gonzalez said the collective efforts of the Ministries of Education and National Mobilization, along with the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMA, and the Buildings, Roads and General Services Authority, BRAXA, were instrumental in adequately accommodating the displaced students at a temporary location, while also maintaining a conducive learning environment for those who remain at the main school building. He further noted that the support provided during the transition demonstrated the importance of interagency cooperation in responding effectively to unexpected emergencies within the education sector.
This is an infrastructure which the Unity Labour Party government left, These things, this is not the first rodeo for the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Mobilization and Braggs and other state officials. No, this is not the first rodeo, and we have helped to shape a well-oiled machinery. Occasionally, it would have limitations or even weaknesses, but they have a lot of strengths and possibilities, and things came out. And I'm pleased to see too that my suggestion was accepted for tablets to be provided for the children. And I want to thank the government and people of the Republic of China on Taiwan for all the supports they have provided, and for Ambassador Fan. All these arrangements and infrastructural, institutional settings that we have put in place, established, and they run like clockwork.
A 3-day Lobster and Lambi festival is set to begin tomorrow in Carriacou and Petit Martinique, with participation also expected from other Grenadine islands. Grenada Tourism Authority's Chief Marketing Officer, Tonia Charles, said that although Carriacou is still recovering from the effects of Hurricane Beryl, the decision was taken to continue promoting activities on the island as a way to support economic recovery and uplift local communities. She explained that the festival provides an opportunity for residents, vendors, and cultural practitioners to benefit from increased visitor activity, while also showcasing the resilience and rich culinary heritage of the islands. Charles added that the festival is being promoted as a regional experience, welcoming participation from neighboring islands, including St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and encouraging regional travel and cultural exchange within the Grenadines.
The long-term goal for this is for persons not just to experience the event, but to experience Carriacou and Petit Martinique as a whole. So what we've done is we've encouraged, some of the service providers to put on their tours, do other events. Of course, nothing that clashes with the times that we're offering, our main event. But we want them to see, one, that Carriacou and Petit Martinique has reopened for business. Yes, there's challenges, but we're not going to wait until everything is completely back to normal. So that's one. I also want people, especially from the mainland of Grenada and neighboring islands of, the Grenadines, Union, Bequia, and so, to look at Carriacou and Petit Martinique as a destination in itself. Grenada has 3 islands, but at the same time, we offer 3 unique experiences, and that's what I want them to do.
The Lobster and Lambi Festival is traditionally held during the open season for Lobster and Lambi or conch, and is one of Carriacou and Petit Martinique's signature culinary events, attracting both locals and visitors. Other activities forming part of the Lobster and Lambi Festival include live band performances, fun and games, cultural showcases, and appearances by Carnival Queen contestants, adding entertainment and pageantry to the culinary celebrations.